Hey guys, what's up? This is Turtles Impact, episode 4, and today we have Ian Lawler. Ian is a great man, a father, a husband, a bit of a stoic poet, jiu-jitsu black belt, gym owner, and a lifetime competitor. Bro, I'm super stoked to have you on here, and just give us a little insight on your life right now and where you're from.
Right now, I live in Somerset, Kentucky. I own Somerset Martial Arts. My wife and I run that full time. We teach. It's a basic mixed martial arts gym. We've got boxing, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. We just decided after speaking with our county school systems, high school coaches, that we're actually going to take on the Pulaski County Youth Wrestling Program next year. Just fingers crossed, we'll keep hooking and jabbing and making the world a better place, one martial artist at a time.
Hell yeah, I love it, bro. I love it. All right, man, let's dig into these questions. Let's start with, can you tell us about your journey becoming a black belt?
Let's see. I started no-gi jiu-jitsu in 2006 under Charlie Kohler at the San Diego Fight Club. I got to train with some of arguably the best fighters in the world at the time, which fighting really wasn't that prevalent back then. I got to train with guys like Dave Escuerdo, Pat Spade, Joe Duarte, and Charlie Kohler was a WEC lightweight contender. It was just phenomenal being a teenager and getting that opportunity.
Yeah.
Then when I was 18, 2008, Darren Durham, the owner of Submit Pit Jiu Jitsu, I was a poor kid. I became a dad at a very early age, and my own stupidity
How
tried
old
to make.
are you?
He was an awesome coach, and he actually gave me my first gi when I was 18 years old. That was about a little over 16 years ago now, and just been kind of going on ever since then.
That's awesome, bro. Do you think so? You could say he kind of inspired you to open up a gym and stuff like that once you got to that point?
Honestly, opening a gym was kind of I don't want to call it a fluke, but
Yeah.
so I was on active duty in the military for 5.5 years. I got out 6 months early. I was on a 6-year contract as a corpsman for the Navy. I had the opportunity and privilege to serve with several Marine Corps units during my time in, and I will handedly say that being able to be a part of those Marine Corps units was one of the best life experiences I've ever had. They are, as much as we joke around and we call them guys degenerates. You know what I mean? Like, we're a bunch of
Yeah.
degenerate, but the reality is they are also some of the most stoic and just amazing human beings on the planet. When you put them together in a squad or a platoon or a company, battalion, they are without a doubt the single best fighting force on the planet. If any of you guys happen to see this or you're a former Marine, I fucking love you. Thank you for your
Hell yeah,
service.
bro. Major
Uh,
support, seriously, and
but
respect towards you for your support, bro.
So I got out of the military and moved back to Somerset, Kentucky, which is my hometown on the East Coast. And there was nowhere to train. And at the time, I'd had 3 professional fights, and I was a no stripe purple belt. And I was like, well, man, I need a place to train. So we rented a 1,000 square foot shed behind Office Depot. That I think it's like a detail shop for cars now. and
Nice.
threw some mats down, and that was a little over 9 years ago, December 12th, 2014. And
Nice.
I've really just needed a place to train, and now it's turned into a full time career essentially.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. How do you manage the time between running the gyms, being a father and then training to compete? Because you're pretty highly active still, right? Because I seen
Well,
you have a post coming up. Is that a cage fight or is that jujitsu?
yep, that'll be my 11th professional MMA fight.
That's fucking awesome, bro. Pretty stoked for it.
Oh yeah, man, I'm so excited. I had a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I haven't fought professionally in 5.5 years, and I took a whole bunch of fights between 2017, 28, and 2018, and I had 6 whole fight camps just get dropped out from underneath me.
Damn.
And I mean, you're a competitive athlete, man. When you're putting the time in, and then like I had 3 whole shows canceled on me the week of the fight. Actually, one of them I
Wow.
was in the warm up room with my hands taped, gloves on, like I was breaking my sweat to go out, and they
Yeah.
canceled the show because a gentleman went into cardiac arrest in the back. And it was, I lost a whole bunch of money on, well, I had 9 fight camps in 2 years. I got to fight 3 times. and it was really annoying. And I found myself just trying to chase after paychecks, and there really wasn't a lot of passion in the fighting aspect of it. I was just doing it because it's what I knew to do, and it's all I knew to do. And I was like, well, just keep on, keep on, keep on. And then I just didn't want to do it anymore. Taking the time off and coming back to being able to love martial arts again and love competing again has, I know I'm obviously substantially on the wrong side of 30, but I feel like physically I'm not in terrible shape. I had a couple back surgeries in the last year and a half, and or a year and some change, and I've had some injuries that I've had to deal with, but I'm still strong, I'm still fast, I've got pretty good cardio. I don't really feel like my age is a factor, and as long as I can compete, I want to keep competing, man.
Hell yeah. So talk about some of your training routines if you can to kind of keep you in that set and like young and healthy, maybe even some like nutritional tips to kind of, with your health. Cause me, even at that age, man, like I'm turning 31 this year and I'm starting to feel it, you know?
Honestly, the some of the biggest things I've taken away, and I actually got to give my physical therapist, Rodney Russell, a shout out for this. I only eat organic meats and vegetables now. I know most people really don't think that eating organic really changes a whole lot, and of course, most people look at it in a cost analysis, and they're like, oh man, well, it's so much more expensive versus the benefit that I get from it. And for an everyday person or somebody who's just a recreational fitness enthusiast, you're probably right. You probably wouldn't notice any dramatic changes, but intaking tons of seeds. So I blend up like chia seeds, flax seeds, and I get lots of omegas out of those every single day. And I eat only. About 6 months ago, I switched over to only eating organic meats and vegetables,
Oh
and
yeah.
that made a huge difference in just my body's ability to withstand the training throughout the week. As I used to be one of those dudes that was like, I don't freaking need to eat vegetables. Like it's hard enough to get my meat and carbs in when you're training twice a day. Five, sometimes 6 days a week. And I was
Yep.
like, I don't want to. I'll just drink my greens. Wrong. Eat your vegetables. I promise you. Get like it's an easy meal that anybody. I mean, unless you're allergic to anything I'm about to tell you, but it's an easy meal. I probably eat this 3-4 times a week. I'll take a pound of grass-fed ground beef. I'll take a cup of chopped cauliflower, a cup of chopped broccoli, throw some steak sauce or barbecue sauce on it, and throw a cup of white rice in there. Stir it up, and it's a full meal. It gets all your vegetables, your micronutrients, your carbohydrates, and your protein, and it's all healthy.
Yeah, it's just three ingredients, man. That's pretty dope. That's kind of like that's what I do. Honestly, I'll just throw I either do broccoli. I'll even do like an avocado, a single avocado.
Yep.
That's like almost a superfood, you know.
Yeah.
So that's fucking awesome. Do you take any supplements?
I use vegan protein and whey protein from EFP. It's Edge Fitness Performance or
Nice.
Edge Fitness Performance Nutrition. Yep, they're a smaller supplement brand out of Nashville. A friend of mine who's an elite male CrossFit competitor, Riley Good, turned me on to them. He works for them, and I've really enjoyed their products. And then I also use Extreme Endurance from a company called Zendurance. It is supposed to help reduce oxidative stress in the body, increase your VO2 max, and allow for greater oxygen retention throughout your muscle system as you're breathing.
Mhm.
And I would have been one of those people that really didn't believe in supplements that like have outrageous or outlandish things that are said about them like that. But I've been using Extreme Endurance for probably 8-9 years now, and I wouldn't go without it. It's the single best over the counter product I've ever had to improve my especially my aerobic performance.
Yeah. Wow. I'm definitely gonna have to look into this then. That sounds pretty awesome.
Hmm.
Nice. So you've done CrossFit too, competing?
Yeah, I was actually in for the CrossFit Open in 2022. I was top 1% in the world for elite males.
Nice. So how do you feel about all the like outlandish things people say about CrossFit?
They're
What did your
100%.
they're what?
They're 100% true, and it's CrossFit's fault.
It's
I
CrossFit's fault. Yeah.
I'm a CFL one. I have my CrossFit level one, and I'm telling you that I took that course just because I wanted to see what it was like, get and have the experience of taking the course. but I honestly didn't learn anything that I really didn't already know.
Yeah.
And I can definitively say this is why CrossFit is getting such a bad name. If you can take a weekend course that's 8 hours a day for 2 days,
Yeah.
and now omnis dominus, you can go open a CrossFit box and say you're a CrossFit coach and apply these principles to people. It's a complete fallacy. It's no wonder why they're getting people hurt.
Yeah.
Most CrossFit coaches, in my opinion, and some of them are very people. Most CrossFit box owners, very nice people. They couldn't program for real athletes if their life depended on it. And again, it's not their fault. They're taking the tools that they're being given by CrossFit to do their job. And it's not enough. And that's why CrossFit's getting a bad name. And then subsequently, CrossFit's also getting a bad name. And they've been doing a little bit better job at fixing this, because CrossFit used to be uh the idea was it was for everybody. Anybody could do this, and then everybody, anybody, no matter what their walk of life was, they could get in this awesome, best shape ever. And then somewhere along the line, like I'd say probably 7 to 8 years ago, they lost the everyday fitness enthusiast crowd, and CrossFit's became synonymous with superhuman performance. So then you
Yeah.
see these men and women at like sanctionals events, or the regionals, or at the games, and you're like, you have to be a world class athlete as just the price of admission to be on that game, that competition floor. Not every that's so few people. It's unbelievable. And then you get people who try to do that shit without having 10 years of fitness training behind that, backing them up, that was built one step at a time, and they get hurt. There's
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely understand that. That's crazy. I haven't personally gotten into it yet, but I've definitely been curious. And like I said, you always hear all these injuries and stuff like that. And people that have been doing it forever, their bodies aren't, reacting to themselves very well anymore. But that makes sense, not being educated, you injure people. I mean, it's just like people just going by what they read, the script. You got to do your own research. You got to branch off. If you're passionate about something, it becomes easy.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome, bro. So, tell me about some challenges you've faced as a gym owner and kind of how you overcome them. So I know you
Oh,
said it was kind of like an accident how it all happened.
well, yeah, man. Honestly, the and before I say this, I want to preface these statements with I
Mhm.
love my town. I'm from a very small community. My graduating high school class was, I think, 121 kids. Like, it's a very small community, but because of that, you deal with a lot of, and I don't want to call it ignorance, but just not knowing. So, as a jujitsu guy and a MMA and a professional fighter, the vast majority of my community views us as like foot fist way karate, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you do that karate stuff, right, boy?" And I'm
Hmm.
like, "No, I don't do karate, sir. Not that I have anything against karate, but I think if we that's probably been the biggest thing for us, is breaking through the mental barriers people have, from watching stuff like the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, and then just it's such different. Even though they're all still martial arts, as well as I, what I mean. It's just different. If you have 100 kids in a karate school's program, you'll be lucky if you get 20 of those kids that have the mentality to stick with jujitsu. It's with any sport, as the degree of difficulty goes up. You can't get a junior black belt in 2.5 years like you can in
Hmm.
most forms of karate. Like, they don't even have junior black belts in jiu-jitsu. I mean, I had 13 years of competitive jiu-jitsu and 10 professional fights, with I'm going to say I probably have close to 200 grappling matches now before I got my black belt. And I'm like, that's such a difference from, well, little Johnny can break this board and do some stuff in front of a mirror and get an applause from a panel of judges, and now they have their new belt. And
Yeah.
it's very difficult to break through that mentality, so to speak.
Especially, I guess, after the child's already went through that kind of coaching forever and then goes into a jiu-jitsu academy, the discipline, it's completely different. It really is. The leveling, it's crazy. I remember time. I mean, I know a lot of jiu-jitsu competitors get like butt hurt or something like that every time someone's, oh, you do that karate, the chop chop. And I can imagine being in Kentucky with it being a smaller, the more not they're not necessarily like backwoods, but like they're more farmers types and stuff like that. So that's pretty
And man,
awesome. That's pretty great that you're like prospering in there too, dude. That's great.
we're trying. I've got 217 members on the books right now, and I'd
Nice.
like to see that by 250 towards the end of spring. That would be ideal.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. So what are some of the major achievements in your career as an athlete? Through like that's I guess what were the major points where you started like ranking up? Do you feel like kind of gave you that rank?
Um, Honestly, I don't really know. Like some of the tournaments and stuff that I won, like I got to compete at UFC Expo in 2014, and I won the Expert 175 Nogi division, and that was the first time I caught a black belt in a tournament, and I had just gotten my purple, and I didn't know that the guy was a black belt, and then it kind of like dawned on me. I was like, well, maybe I'm a little bit better than I thought I was, because looking back on it, I was like, man, if I would have known that that guy was a black belt, he would have probably ran my ass over. And
Because you would have had that in the back of your mind. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So like, honestly, I don't know. I think a lot of the times that I felt like I jumped up in like skill or performance, a lot of it was just kind of an accident. Like, oh man, it just the light bulb clicked that day, and it just kind of went forward. I wish I could say I had like a aha moment, but
Yeah.
I didn't really.
That's awesome, bro. That's just shit. It's lucky as fuck. That's great, man. I mean, it sounds like you're putting that energy out in the universe, though, man. It's coming back to you, bro. Because you're a great dude. So from the first time that I met you, you've been pretty awesome, man. So
Like,
that's I appreciate it, bro. So I think that's what it is. I mean, that's what a lot of things that I preach too, is like you stay good, you the discipline and everything in yourself, and you kind of distill that onto the people around you, and you're just making them better. So the universe is almost like giving you a gift.
amen.
Kind of, that's awesome, bro. So let's see. How do you maintain that mindset, especially when things start getting hectic and maybe you've had a couple losses or something like that, one after another, or
Yeah, I tell you what, man. I had one loss in amateur MMA. I went 4-1 as an amateur MMA fighter, and that one loss really changed everything about my competitive mindset. His name's Zach Sanders. I don't think he fights anymore. I think he had maybe 4 or 5 professional fights. We still stay in contact. Actually, last time I spoke with him, he was living in Florida. But I was 2-0 at the time. He was 6-0, and I. But this was 2000. I think this was 2008. There was no mixedmartialarts.com, and ShareDog only tracked professional fighters. And, like, I mean, for crying out loud, this is the wild, wild west. Like, I can remember, one of my very first amateur fight at not a circus, but a fair in Indiana. And like, there was no warm-up rooms. We had a piece of carpet behind the cage that we were all in the same spot, and like they were pulling people out of the crowd to fight because guys didn't want to do it like it. And it was different. But so there's you couldn't get any information on guys that you fought. I mean, YouTube was still in its infancy.
yep,
uh, I was told by the promoter that my opponent was 2-0, just like me, and it was not the case. And then Zach was also an outstanding All-American wrestler and a 3-time state champion out of Indiana, if I remember correctly. And dude, this guy just beat the brakes off of me. I can remember at one point in the second round, he was mounted, dropping punches, and like just the position, it's really hard to hit hard from mount. And I
yep,
swear, I remember closing my eyes once and thinking, I wish he was hitting me hard enough to knock me out so this shit would be over.
yeah,
After that, like it took me 9 months to get the balls up to fight again, and I was actually on active duty by that time in Camp Lejeune, but it took me 9 months to get the balls up to try to fight again. And I remembered when I was getting ready for that fight and every fight since then, I was like, no one will ever beat the shit out of me again. I've had losses and I'm okay with those losses. It is what it is, but not one single person has ever kicked my ass since then, and nobody ever will.
fuck yeah, bro. That's badass. I love that. Yeah, dude. Just have that fucking strong will. Like the fact that you didn't like the with that black belt match. You didn't think he was a black belt, so you're just going as hard as you can. You don't care about the other person. You're just trying to be better than yourself. Like that's the mentality that I think a lot of athletes should have. It gets them to the top. You know, you can't your ego or your fucking talent, whatever it is, you can't rely on that. You know, that's
No,
fucking awesome. That's awesome, bro. So
absolutely.
how do you distill the this onto your students, like the positive mindset and the positive training environment?
One, I try my absolute best to lead by example. I, I want to be the first one on the mats, last one off. If, there's somebody sitting out and I'm tired, I don't care. I go grab them and I'm like, hey, man, you can go with me. Like, whatever the case may be. And, I do that with my children, with my students. And I truly believe that, like, what if they say there's an old saying, like they say those who can't do teach,
Hmm.
and in our world, if you can't do, why would anybody pay you money to teach them? People can get pissy, and I've had people get pissy with me over that, and I'm like, look, man, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if you're 50 years old. Guess what? Every major show has age divisions. So
Yeah.
if you're a 50-year-old black belt who and you're in relatively decent health, you don't have any injuries holding you back, and you're like, well, I don't compete because I'm old. I'm like, well, that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
I don't challenge myself because I'm old. That's not an excuse. You will be challenging yourself against another 50-year-old at the
Hmm.
same weight, at the same skill set, at the same skill level. So what it really boils down to is people. I think a lot of martial artists, especially school owners, they get into a position to where they let fear dictate their life. They're afraid to look bad in front of their students. They're afraid to get caught. They're afraid to do this. They're afraid to do that. And I'm like, you know what? I have a losing record at black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't care. I'm out there for me. I want to be the best representation for me, for my students, for my children, for my wife as I can be. And I think that when people get away from and stop letting fear dictate their lives, I think they would actually probably be a whole lot better. Another thing that we do in my school, I don't bow out like traditional schools. Most jujitsu schools, actually just about literally every school I've ever been to, they line up. It's almost always by rank, or if they got rash guards on, it's just guesstimated seniority. And then they'll shake hands, or the coach will ask, anybody got any questions, stuff like that. And I actually stole how we bow out from Clay Mayfield, out
Okay.
of a Triangle Academy in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I now have everybody, ranks irrelevant. We all just sit in a big circle at the end of class, and I let everybody go around the circle. They can give a positive, a negative, brag on a teammate, talk about something that they struggled with. Maybe they need me to answer a question, but everybody gets a turn on the microphone, so to speak, because
Yeah.
you know what it's like to be a white belt. Like, you don't when coach really asks, hey, does anybody got any questions? Ain't no damn white belt going to raise their hand and be like, yeah, coach, me, I'm the guy. and
Yep.
and that's not good. I don't think that builds a good sense of community within the team. I want everybody to feel comfortable having a seat at the table, going, hey, coach, or hey, senior belt, or hey, purple belt over here, can you help me? Yes, we're 100% going to help you out, because we are all in this to get better.
Hell yeah, bro. I really love hearing that. That is awesome. And yet Clay Mayfield's pretty dope, dude. I didn't realize he had that distilled into his people. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That is the way to be. That is the way to be. So talk about a little more on like in your own words the importance of the community, because it sounds like it's seriously important from like the inside the gym to outside of the gym kind of thing.
Well, it's super important, but like with anything else, if there's any other school owners listening to this, I'm sure at times you guys have probably felt overwhelmed. If you got 100, maybe even more students, and they're constantly like, there's days I wake up and it takes me 45 minutes just to answer all of my messages on Facebook Messenger from students. And one, make sure you're scheduling the time to do that. Scheduling the time to do that. That way it doesn't feel forced, or you don't start getting irritated or feel like, there's too much energy being pulled from you. Two, be with your leadership. So after my competition team practices, which is my late classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I always talk to my senior guys like, hey, how's everybody doing? So it's very similar to the structure of like a company, right? So if
Yeah.
I'm a quote unquote company commander, Then I have, my most senior guys that have been training with me, some of them, 5, 6, 7, 8, even one of them 9 years now. And it's like, okay, well, is everybody in your class that you run on your Monday 5 o'clock class? Is everybody doing good? Yeah, well, they told me about ABC, and so when you get to, what's the Jocko Willink's got a good term for that, decentralized command. When you
Mm.
have the you're taking care of your leadership, then your leadership can facilitate taking care of everybody that's underneath them, and then hopefully the community stays really really strong. And then of course, like I'm one of those people, and my wife gets on to me sometimes, like I help. I'm a helper. I'm a giver. Like, if I told all my students, the night, and I put a post up on Facebook. I was like, "Hey guys, I really don't drink that much. Anybody needs a ride New Year's Eve, you call me. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You call me, I come. I'll never ask a question. And just being there for your peoples is very, very important, man. Because a lot of these guys, especially the younger guys, like I get a lot of like late teens, early 20s, and now that the Pulaski, our local high school wrestling team trains at my school 2 times a week, so I got 40 teenage males in there, and a lot of them don't have good representation at home. Like I've had personal conversations with them about the lack of fathers in their lives, or positive male influences, or in some cases they're coming from drug ridden homes and stuff like that. And you got I think a lot of people don't understand like how influential you can be to somebody in making their life better. That 1 hour on the mat may seem just like, hey, we're out here doing jujitsu to half your class, but to some people in that class, that might be the only piece of relief that they have for the entire day, or even a week. You don't know what's going on in everybody's lives. This is our version of therapy.
Yeah, that's beautiful, bro. Seriously. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is the way to go. Jiu-jitsu, weightlifting, you got to get yourself to making yourself better. Like it's what helps you get through life and the stresses of it. I mean, it's in the science. Like it literally sets off the endorphins in your body, when you're taking care of yourself and the beautiful dopamine hits. It's great. So I love that, bro. I love that. So again, tell me how you handle defeat one more time.
Defeat?
hmm From the
Well,
moment from that one moment you realize you just lost to the next day.
it has to hurt.
Has to
I,
hurt.
I let it hurt, and I let it sting. But like I tell my athletes, I'm like, every loss should hurt. It should hurt bad, and it should eat away at a piece of your soul if you're really a competitor, because you need to go back and address why you lost that match, or that fight, or that boxing match, or whatever the case may be. Is if it doesn't hurt, if it doesn't eat at your soul, you're not going to make the necessary corrections to not have that feeling again for that reason, if that makes sense. But I also tell them, I'm like, you have to also be a good loser. Now, there's levels to that. Like when I say be a good loser, I mean handle it with the same integrity and stoicism you would handle winning. Right? If we win, we don't go throwing bottles of water in people's corners and acting like nut jobs. If we lose, we don't go punching holes in walls and kicking trash cans like ignoramuses. But with that
Still
being
going
said,
to shake the
like,
coach's hand, everything like that. Yeah.
yeah, but with that said, I was like, if you show me somebody who's truly a good loser, that losing doesn't hurt them, I will show you somebody who's inherently going to be a loser. It has to hurt. But I like to take time, go back and address whatever the technical deficit was that cost me that win, and then drill it. And when I say drill it, I'm a little bit retarded when it comes to this. Like
Mhm.
I will pull somebody aside if like I miss a grip in practice, for example. And I'm like, okay, hey man, can you come here and sit here real quick? I missed a pant grip in class, and I'm just going to work on getting this pant grip over and over and over again for 10 minutes, if you don't mind. And most of the time, your training partners and your teammates are like, "Yeah, sure, man, go for it." They don't care that you're grabbing their pants.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just there to help you train, just like anybody else. Your students are making you better, just as vice versa.
Mm-mm.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, one thing that absolutely drives me nuts about MMA fighters. You'll see guys go, 10 plus wins in a weight class.
Yep.
Like you'll get a guy that's an all-star, 15 wins at lightweight. Then he takes one bad loss. It's like, oh, I got to go down to featherweight, man. And I'm like, no. you're already weakening your body cutting weight as it is. We all know that. We're some of us, some of these guys with these humongous weight watersheds and stuff are literally taking years off of their lives. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so your answer to your loss is I'm going to make my body even weaker and compete. How does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I'm like, you didn't address the technical deficit that cost you the loss in the first place. Now you're just going to be weaker with the same problem. You didn't just wake up after 15 professional wins at this particular weight class and now all of a sudden you're not fast enough or strong enough to compete at that weight class. That's absolutely outrageous. That's stupid.
Yep. Bro, so I know you know Tim, right? Shout out to Tim Northland, Fuji guy.
Heck yeah.
He actually beat it into my head. He's like, don't fucking go down, go up. Like if you're gonna lose, go up and be healthier and better in that next, the next competition and stuff like that. Which I ended up going up, and he, him being the owner of the competition, he's like, here, go face this guy, go face this guy. I remember facing a dude like almost 200 pounds over me and almost outranked me. I'm like, all right, let's just do it. I'm like, all right, let's go. He's like, here, I'll record. I'm like, okay, cool. And I ended up getting thrown around like a rag doll. But I'm like, you know what? It's the fucking experience.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah, just cutting weight is ridiculous. I don't understand it. Like, and I hate the fact that a lot of like schools and high schools and stuff like that, they kind of, which I mean, I guess a lot of the strict, let's say, all right, let's just say Pedigo, the Mount Vernon guys, like they have guys that are in their certain classes, and that's their class, right?
Mhm.
Like they'll cut for it, they'll do whatever, but they have certain guys for certain classes. Any wrestling high school or college does, and they
Yeah.
kind of distill into certain people that they need to cut or they need to do this and stuff like that. I think it's to each their own. If a
Oh,
dude's little, so
but you can do that healthily. Like, I'm
yeah,
about 190 pounds right now, and I'm going to diet down to, if I come into weight cut week at about 185, follow George St. Pierre's weight cut week routine,
yep,
and I'll probably lose another 2 to 2.5 pounds in just straight body weight during weight cut week. And then dropping 12 pounds for me in water, because I have a lot of red tissue, really isn't that hard. I can usually do that in about 4 or 5 hours. And then I go jump on the scale. I'm on weight as little time as possible. And then as soon as I'm off the scale, I'm
you,
down, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, all that good stuff to rehydrate. But to anything past about 8 to 10% of body weight is not good, copacetic. It's not going to be good for longevity.
yeah, yeah. That is for sure. That is for sure. All right, man. So I know it's extremely important, but like in your own words, being consistent and then keeping up with that discipline and having it. In your own words, how important is that?
Routine is everything if you want to make gains. Now, if you're a freaking clandestine operator for the CIA, obviously you don't want to have a routine, but that's not the vast majority of us. Uh, I follow. I call it the blue green red method. Like, blue days are high intensity days for me. Green days are moderate days where I'm getting good work in, but I don't feel like I've been kicked in the teeth. And then my red days are when my body's kind of is a little bit crapped out, and I know I need to recover. My red days or recovery/rest days are Thursday and Sunday. And then every other day, I maintain my schedule. I'm up at the same time. I'm in bed at the same time. I eat at the same time, especially when I'm prepping for some type of competition. And then
Yeah.
I run my own programming as far as strength and conditioning is concerned. And but believe it or not, a lot of people don't believe me when I say this. I only lift weights 2 days a week. Well, now when I was competing in CrossFit, I was doing CrossFit 5, 6 days a week. But now I only lift weights twice a week. I do squats and presses on Tuesday, and then I'll do some basic functional bodybuilding, sandbags, stuff like that. And then Saturday's deadlift day, and again functional bodybuilding, and then I'll throw like a 40 or 60 minute zone 2 piece in there. Usually I like doing stuff like that's based off continuous work. Like, I'll set a timer for 45 minutes, and then I'll wear my heart rate monitor. I'll get my heart rate to like around 142 beats a minute, because that's at the upper end of my zone 2 range. And then I will just move for 45 minutes. Like, an example would be like, I'll do a 1 mile bike into 12 150-pound sandbag cleans into 20 box jump overs, and then I'll row 750 meters, and I'll do 30 GHD sit-ups and
Nice.
25 handstand push-ups. But I'm now that's in 45 minutes you'll be lucky if you're watching your heart rate and you're staying at a talking pace. You'll be lucky if you get 2 rounds of that in. But the purpose is with recovery, or with zone 2 work, is recovery. It actually helps generate oxygen rich
Mm-hmm.
blood to tissues, and then recovers those tissues because you're not breaking them down at that heart rate range.
Yep. That's awesome, bro. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So you're saying you're doing more of like the bodybuilding portion, so you're kind of in the higher rep range.
Yep. Like an example, I usually like do exercises in triplicate. So like for example, if I'm doing, let's say I'll do 20 push presses with 50-pound dumbbells. And
Okay.
then my next exercise will be something core related. So I might do like a 1 minute plank. And
Mm-hmm.
then my next exercise will be something leg related. I love Bulgarian. I love lunging type movements. I got a lot of that from Jordan Burroughs. He was
Yep.
he's an amazing wrestler, obviously. But something that he talked about was really interesting to me. He was like, look, man, he's like, because he's getting older now. And he's like, I don't do squats anymore. And he's like, I haven't for a long time. He's like, I do a lot of lunging work. He's like, and he got down to the bottom of a squat. And he's like, when are you ever going to be here in a fight or a wrestling match or a jiu-jitsu match? He's like, you're not. He's like, when are you going to be in a lunging position? Every time you shoot, every time
Yeah.
you're trying to take somebody down off a wall, every single time you're trying to hit a sit out, every time you're trying to chase legs, you are constantly in a lunge position. And I was like, man, so like I really enjoy like Bulgarian split squats, or I like do front rack walking lunges, stuff like that.
There you go. Hell yeah. That's the same. I've been incorporating more lunges into and between the lunges and the Bulgarian split squats. I still do a lot of squats, but my path's a little different right now. But I think once I do get back to jiu-jitsu and all that fun stuff, probably dull it down into lunges. But that's smart, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I appreciate that information, by the way.
seeing your progress pics.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying, bro. Like I said, I'm bulking right now, so I'm trying to get up to 225, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna stretch back down. So, how
man.
tall are you, by the way?
How tall am I? I'm 5'7". I'm short.
Okay, see, the beautiful thing with short dudes, we fill out better. That's what I
That's
like about I got these tall dudes. My buddy Hunter, he's on one of my programs right now, and he's bulking too. And you can see his muscles and stuff like that, but he's not as big. And he's like, dude, I want to get bigger in my legs. I'm like, bro, he's like comparing himself to what I'm looking at right now, and I'm like, bro, you can't do that. I'm like almost 5 inches below you. And so he's like 6'4", 6'3", or something like that. I'm 5'8", so 5'9" on a good day, I'd like to say. So, you know. All right, bro. So just to kind of wrap it up, what is your future plans with the gym and like your athletic career and stuff?
I really don't know. I plan on competing until I die. I would like to do this. I've got this fight coming up March 9th for future of fighting against Andrew Law, a really tough judo
Which is
guy.
I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Lawler and Law.
I think like when they sent me the flyer, I posted it and I was like, well, the matchmaker said they had a guy with a really cool last name, so I had to fight him to see who had the coolest name.
Yes, there you go.
But there's a possibility for another matchup coming the first week in May, and then honestly, man, I'll be halfway to 35 at that, or halfway to 35 at that point. And I think 12 professional fights is enough for me to hang my hat on if I don't get any real opportunities. Because at my age, like I'm not old by any means, but I'm also like, well, if I'm gonna keep doing this past just like locally or for fun, like I do want to get compensated for my time, and
Yep.
feel like I've had my journey recognized in that manner, so to speak. Jiu-jitsu wise, as long as the IBJJF quits cutting all their stupid crap out, like I would love to continue to compete, at least in jujitsu until I die, man. Like we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier, like you can be 50 years old and still be a world champion these days. Like, yeah, sure, you're not gonna take on a 21-year-old, but nobody's asking you to at that age. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, and dude, with like stand up, you can only get punched so many times in the face. And then
Yeah.
eventually, like, you gotta be like, all right, I gotta take these concussions and calm down. But with jiu-jitsu, you can go hard all the time.
Mm.
It's yeah. Have you gotten a chance to fight on like Fight to Win and stuff like that? Like the big
No,
state?
I've spent the last 18 months down, man. I had
Yeah.
not this past December, but the December before, I had two discs in my back operated on. I herniated three of them August of 2022, and it was kind of a nightmare. I had to have some bone spurs and partial disectomies and a laminectomy done, and then I thought I was healing up pretty decent, and I was got cleared to start exercising around like March of last year, and of 2023, and I re-herniated my L5S1, and then I went to Mexico last May to the Cellular Performance Institute to get stem cells put in my spine, both of my SI joints, and then one of my knees. And that honestly, that's been the biggest thing for getting back to being able to compete. Like honestly, my buddy Andrew Hansen, he's the owner of Henzo Gracie Clarksville. And
Mhm.
I was talking to him at the Nashville Open or the Spring Nashville Open of 2023 last year, and I was like, dude, I still can't. I can barely pick my leg up to get in and out of my car. And he was like, man, he's like, I know you don't want to hear this. He's like, but this might just be it for you. He's like, you may have to accept that. And I was like, wow, that really sucks. Like hearing that out loud. And so as long as God's going to keep me, be blessed enough to bless me enough to be able to keep competing. I think it's my job and my duty to my students, to my son who really looks up to me a lot, and we compete a lot together. I'm going to set that example as long as I can.
I love that, dude. That's fucking awesome. And that's what you're still going to get that greatness from the universe, bro.
Amen.
That's awesome, man. All right, so last question, bro. For someone that's wanting to follow in your footsteps, what kind
Yeah.
of advice would you give them?
Good training isn't free. Free training isn't good. Suck it up and pay for it. If you can afford to go out and eat and buy your cigarettes or your dip or your beer, you can afford $100 gym membership. Be committed. Find people to surround yourself with that are above you. One of the quickest ways to see if somebody has a humble spirit or not is if they're willing to put people around them that make more money than them, that are at a better station in life than them, that are at a higher rank than them in the gym, even, for example. When you start surrounding yourself with that old saying, if you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're going to be the sixth one. You
Yep.
surround yourself with 5 crackheads, you're going to be the sixth one. Surround yourself with champions, people that are motivated and driven in whatever aspect of life it might be. And because there's going to be days that you're hurting, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever the case may be. And you will need those people to hoist you back up and help you remember who you are when those dark times come, because they come for everybody.
That they do. Hell yeah, man. Those are beautiful. Every last word of that, bro. So is there any shout outs, anything like that that you want to give?
Oh, absolutely. To my beautiful wife, she's in the other room right now. She has been my biggest supporter. And I was married for a long time before I met her, and her and I've been together. June 18th will make 7 years,
Wow.
and I would have never believed that a relationship like this could have existed. I just assumed that everybody was comfortably miserable in their marriages.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
my kids love you guys. Uh, Aaliyah, Lexi, Bug, you guys are my world. To my students, I hope to make you guys proud, and I'm going to keep working hard to do so. And my coaches, Michael Seals, Phil Perkins, Alex Kress, and all the coaches at headquarters, my school in Somerset. I love you guys. Thank you for always having my back, and I hope you know I will always have yours.
Hell yeah, bro. This is awesome. Yeah, dude, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show and talking with me, bro. Like
Oh,
legit. I can't wait to get back down there and start training with you guys. It's
hell
gonna
yeah.
happen.
Anytime, man. My basement, it's not really a basement. Like it's completely finished. It's got its own bathroom, bedroom, kitchenette. You come stay at my house, man. You come check the
Yeah.
gym out, lake, we'll have a blast.
Hell yeah, bro. I'm gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna get a train ride down there. I appreciate you, bro. All right, man. I'll catch you later. Love you, bro.
Love you
Have
too,
a
man.
good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, bro.